Welcome to the-kakle. On today's episode, we'll be discussing issues of our lives, our values, diversity, plus Canada. We've all got things to tackle. Stop playing around. Thank goodness for the-kakle.
But what's the psychology behind it?
We're all the ladies here.
And she's in the wrong.
For you.
Welcome to the-kakle. This one is special. First of all, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm happy because whenever we have a guest, it puts a smile on my face, and this guest is truly special. Her name is Yasmina Jimenez, consultant and entrepreneur. She is a leadership and organizational development coach, motivational speaker, and facilitator. Her passion for leadership development is the fuel of her business, My Workshop. That's m.y.workshop, which provides social, professional, and organizational development service for individuals and small work teams. Prior to opening her own business, she was already and remains a co-owner along with her husband, Marvin Dennis, of a local music label and production house called My Production. She holds a undergraduate degree in human relations specialization from Concordia University right here in Montreal, which she graduated with distinction. She is a member of the Golden Key International Honor Society and, among many, has received a certificate of achievement from the Center for Leadership and Civic Education in Florida State University. What she says is, my passion for developing leadership skills in others as well as seeing them improve and succeed is the fuel of my business. Her motto, actually two, never stop learning. Service leadership is true leadership. I am so happy that Yasmina has joined Tanisha Collins, Sanka and me, in case you don't know my name, Sherley Joseph. So here's our conversation. This is highly focused this is going to be a two-part series, really. So for this one, part one, it's highly focused on our confessionals, what's been going on, and what we've learned with what's been going on for the past week or so. I hope you enjoy the-kakle. Email us, share your confessional as well. That's info@the-kakle.com. That's THEKAKLE, the-kakle.com. We'd love to know your weekly confession. So here we are. Make sure you have your glass of wine or juice or coffee. I know I like to have my late night coffee. Enjoy the conversation. It's time for the confessional, ladies. What has been going on this week? Lessons that you've learned this week, or things that you were going through and had an aha moment.
All right.
Anyone?
Well,
Tanisha, Sanka, Yasmina?
My week was pretty crazy, but one thing I already know I have to appreciate the moment, but when life throws you that crazy, I really had to learn how to take control of the brakes and not let it get out of control. Life is a roller coaster. We're all aware of this. And went through some ups and downs throughout the week, but I'm proud of myself in knowing how to pull the brakes. I kept my head on, my shoulders on, through some serious hard times. Where I'm sure to my family I look crazy. Probably look like, The Exorcist, something like that. It wasn't pretty. Don't try to visualize that. I wouldn't go there. Save yourself. But that was just me. It's learning to pull the brakes. It was pretty much a hectic week. Had a loss in the family, had an issue with my son at school, like any other parent. But it's sometimes, I'm tired of letting crazy get out of control. So I kind of, had to pull it back in. I was proud of myself. I didn't scare anybody on the road. I didn't do any road rage.
Or people rage.
Oh, I'm getting to heaven's gates, girl. I was proud of myself. I won some points right there.
Oh, yeah. How did you handle things differently?
You know why? Normally when things get out of control, I kind of just, you scream, you lock up, you're more I don't want to use the word aggressive, but more irritated. So you're not approachable.
Yeah.
I like to call it assertive.
No, I had my bullying part. We'll get to that. No, it wasn't that at all. It was really just learning how to say, okay, hey, how does, when I'm irritated, having an attitude or being so angry affect the environment around me? And sometimes the environment, the people around me didn't do anything.
That's frustrating.
But they're feeling it. So, I had to pull the brakes to just look in their eyes in a moment and what it's like to experience that feedback off of me. And I said, that wasn't fair.
Yeah.
I wouldn't appreciate it. So I learned to take the brakes and pull them right away. And I said, it's not fair. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm taking control. And my confession is, I'm a good girl. You see, I tried. There's a good side to me. I'm going to make it to heaven. Watch out now. Maybe I may have to talk to Jesus at the gate a bit. Maybe about 40 minutes. But I'm going to get in.
You'll have some explanation.
We're going to definitely go over that.
Do you think that your things got handled better now that you decided to handle them with your head instead of on emotional high?
Yes. I found things were handled more quickly. And
That's interesting.
No, it was handled more quickly because I refused to let my emotion get the best of me. And we're human. Everybody gets angry, everyone gets sad, and depending what we're going through. But I'm tired of letting the emotion take control because at the end of the day, the job still has to get done.
Yeah.
So I gotta throw that emotion over my shoulder and say, "Wait till later." When I have my wine and some yes.
And
I wonder what you're going to say.
Of calling us crazy ladies, right? Because if we're handling the situation on an intellectual level, on a professional level, whatever the situation might be, we're taking out that power that sometimes is like to use against us, that we got so emotional that we didn't know what we were doing and things just flew out of hand. So, no, we can't give you what you want.
Exactly. And when I realized, to tell you the actual moment I realized that there was somewhere I was going and I was just so angry, so flustered. And I got out of my car. When I look back at my car wasn't even parked right. And I'm like, okay, this is getting out of control. This is getting out of control.
Bring her back.
Yes, I was just like, woo, wheel her back in. Easy there, grasshopper, your favorite word. And I had to go back to my car. I'm like, no, okay, take back control. You got this. I can't let the emotion. So that was one thing I learned. I learned to take control. And I confess that, yes, I went nuts at the beginning of the week. Anybody had road rage, the blue Mazda, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I'm not perfect. I'm sorry, but I had to learn to take control, and I hope somebody learns from that from me too. Not to take their bad moments and put it on others, but learn to take control and say it's not fair to the other person. They don't even know. They're only feeling. They're getting that feedback, and it's not right for them. So, I don't know. What about you, Sanka?
This week, my definition this week was Albert Einstein's definition of crazy.
They called him crazy, but he was smart.
But he was smart.
He was brilliant.
Yeah.
She's calling herself very smart.
Smart.
He said the definition of crazy was trying to do the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So this is live in my brain on a regular 24/7 basis because I have a tendency of unknowingly, because we're always rushing and we're not in the moment.
Yeah.
It is so easy to fall off the wagon and fall into bad habits. Even though I coach people for a living.
No one is perfect.
Even though, but the thing is, that's
why you have a passion for it, though.
Exactly. I know I'm still working it.
Exactly.
So there was something I had been doing. There's a dynamic in a relationship I have in my life that has been going on for years. When I tell you almost half my life.
We're not there yet, honey. Sorry. Forever 21.
And there's these opportunities every year. There's an opportunity to do things differently. And there's a mental moment where you're like, I'm going to do things differently. And you start doing things differently. And somewhere between differently and the end result,
something happens.
There's a misconnect. I forgot to reboot. Something happens, and when I gain consciousness and I'm back in the moment again, I'm like, how did I end up here again?
I told you, what? That's exactly where I was when I looked back at my car. Because we're mature enough. We're all women. We know how we're supposed to act, but sometimes life just gets out of whack. And when I look back at my car, that's how I felt. Okay, how did crazy come back out and drive and park the car?
I thought I left her home.
Exactly. I thought I had it packed away. So, you know what? I agree with you. So, Sanka, I'm learning from you, my dear.
So what did you do?
Don't do that.
What
My
did
goodness,
you do?
girl. Don't learn from my life, learn from what I tell you.
What did you do when you realized you were in the same spot again then? Am I allowed to ask questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Conversation.
I just had to take a second to contemplate your question. I'm still in the process of doing it.
Okay.
What I did do when I did realize it, I said, okay, we regroup and let me see, do I still want this? Mm-hmm. Where's my issue? Mm-hmm. And where do I want it to go? And wherever I want it to go, is it going to take more than me to be able to control those, to have an impact on those steps, right? Because depending on where I want to be, if it's really truly about my own happiness and satisfaction and so forth, then I can take steps, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't have to rely on how anybody else is going to react to them. Because as soon as you change your behavior, there's a cause and
an effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. the word just left me for a second. That's it. There is a cause and effect. Mm-hmm. So I have to decide, am I willing to live with the consequences of that? I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, but not everything, like we could control our behaviors.
Correct.
Right? And our decisions, but we can't, we could maybe even have an influence on someone else, but you never know what the outcome is going to be.
That's why I have to, where my evaluation is right now is, can I live with the consequences?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at, because what you say is exactly true. I can change my behavior, but the other person has an independent choice as to how they want to behave in consequence, which may or may not end up being what you want.
No, exactly. Yeah. But I think that's the biggest part about life in general, right? I mean, we feed off of each other, but we have to be realistic that you can't change other people. Yeah. And you're going to have to accept it for what it is and decide whether you want to ride this out or do you want to jump off this train.
Exactly. Yeah. And do I want it to be, although every time I do decide to walk away, some life happens and brings them back on my doorstep. I'm
wondering what we're talking about.
I thought who we're talking about. I'm a big proponent of recycling, but some things just need not be recycled. And so now I'm trying to figure out if it needs to be recycled, if I really should leave it in the junk pile. And I mean that with the nicest.
Maybe you'll need to FedEx it to another continent.
It's like the cat. Remember that poem, The Cat Came Back the very next day?
Yes.
So I just have to figure out what I'm willing to live with and what I want and what I'm ready to lose or gain in consequence. And that whole thing is what I'm considering right now. And really, the reality is, it's not like I'm 20 either.
You're not?
No, I know. I look it. What? And that works for me.
This is shocking to me. Because I thought we were around the same age. I'm forever 21. If Big Bird can do it, I am going to ride 21 out.
I said I'm not 20. I didn't decide what age I've decided I will be.
That's true.
That too. There's a lot of things on my pile to reconsider. How old I want to be is one of them.
I put 21 because that was, the period in life where everybody, we thought we were the best. We were the only ones existed on the planet.
Yeah,
we
knew everything.
Somehow something was wrong with our hormones in our head. So I choose 21, innocent and bliss.
Yeah.
What about you, our special guest, Yasmina? What is your confessional?
My confessional, I think maybe it's a little bit similar to Sanka in the sense that, as a coach or as someone that likes to help people or be there to listen and encourage other people as well, sometimes you have that moment where you realize the advice you have given countless people, you are not applying.
Yes.
And that's when the crazy kicks in also.
That's so true.
When you're like, are you serious? Didn't I just tell 3 people in the last, year to be careful, to balance things out, to not take on too much, quality over quantity, da-da-da. And you wonder why you're so tired. You don't leave any space to, if things don't go as planned, because usually they never do, and then you wonder why you're so exhausted, and not just physically, but mentally. Mm-hmm. And so I had that moment today. Obviously, like I was telling you guys before, yesterday I had to bring my little 2-year-old to the hospital to make sure she didn't break her ankle, because she decided to fly off the couch. Huh? She thought she was
Everybody thinks they're Superman.
Yes.
Superman, Supergirl. Yeah, sorry.
Full of adventure.
And so our evening didn't go as planned, and then a bunch of stuff. I had to do a lot of stuff today as well, which I was happy to, but I realized I didn't give myself any leeway during the week, and it's been a few weeks. I'm just running, and even on my downtime is not a downtime. So I made so many changes last year to make sure I don't get into that again. And I realized it just kind of crept back up on me, the whole
like
craziness of
thing,
schedule.
you know?
Is it a mom thing?
I don't know.
No.
It's like a...
No, I think
it's
was...
maybe, okay.
I'm like, my children have 4 legs
Maybe
each.
it's a woman thing.
You know what?
It's a
Because
woman
you know
thing.
why? I feel that as women, we like to juggle a lot.
We're natural nurturers.
Yeah, we're
too.
nurturers. We like to balance everything. We want to make sure everything's okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes we spread ourselves too thin.
Yeah.
And we have to know when we have to take a step back. And I think for me this week, that's what it was. I was just spread too thin and lost my head. And all of a sudden there was like a whole, cuckoo lady came out.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We have to be realistic as to what we can handle. But more importantly, put time for yourself and have that downtime. I find I live by it. I give so much advice to other people about taking time for yourself, even if it's just 15 minutes to hear your own thoughts and just to breathe. It would help you. But I think as women, we try to juggle so much. And this is where crazy comes out. And let me tell you something, okay? Your men, your children, your pets know about crazy. You think they don't know about crazy?
It's their how many senses do they have usually? It's their sixth sense. They know it's coming before you even know.
Yeah, because my cats leave the room.
My cat too.
Yeah, my cats leave, and they're at the door, ready to pack up and go. They're like, okay, crazy's here. We need to get out. Yeah. I don't know about those 2 other humans in the house, but they're on their own. Every being for themselves. But I think it's just taking control, and as women, it's normal.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to find what we can balance, how much we can handle, and the different periods in our life, there's different things.
Yeah.
So at the same time, as much as we're aware of, don't spread yourself too thin, you got to be aware that you don't stress out so much. You're in another chapter in your life.
Yeah.
We forget because it's new things we're going through.
Well, I just figure because when you're enjoying everything you're doing, you think, well, I'm not going to get tired because these are choices I made. I'm not.
That too. Yeah.
There's nothing I'm being forced to do or a responsibility that you didn't want that just dropped on you, which happens sometimes in life too. Yeah. And I'm like, how did I put myself in this situation? It's been weeks. I'm running around like a chicken without a head type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of feel like a little bit like a hypocrite, right? Because especially if you give that advice to a lot of people and, assess, analyze, take that moment to stop, to be in silence, to kind of cut off what you need to cut off so you could actually act like a human being, And so, that was my moment, my confession of kind of myself putting myself in that situation to be really tired and not to be at my best. And, when you get 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 moments when you realize people are talking to you and you're just kind of...
like a robot.
And your kids are looking and it's kind of like, what was that cartoon there? Murphy Brown, huh? When it's like,
yes.
Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown.
Why does it look that?
That's a whole new character.
I always mix up these 2 names. I don't know why.
Anyway.
Anyway.
You see how much cartoons are produced annually? I can't keep up. Don't worry, you're not alone. We're in the boat together.
So, who was I talking about?
Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown. There you go.
And it was the teacher.
It was the adult.
Yeah, the adults
talk like that.
Yeah. Well, that's my kids talking. That's what I hear, and my husband and whoever else. And they're just kind of jumping, and I see them, but it's not registering.
You know what? We're not alone. I think sometimes with our families, when we speak to them, when we're in that mode of crazy, they're hearing Charlie Brown too. They're like, what is coming out of her mouth? Okay, I just need instructions, directions. Just keep it simple.
You start talking about things that has nothing to do with what they asked you.
Oh my Lord, how many times? And then the look and expression my son would have on his face. He's like so perplexed. And then I'm like, what? You didn't understand? And he's like, you need to simplify it for me because right now all I heard was wah, 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 wah. And there's a crazy lady and your hair's sticking out and your hands are like going every direction. So I don't know what to do besides just run. So it's true. It's very important to have a moment to yourself.
Yeah.
And I have to try to remember that. It's not easy though.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Because even when you do, you're so tired. You don't want to go out. You don't want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want to get there again, like I've been feeling this last few weeks. But, I'm just happy I'm not pushed to the edge. Like I cut myself a little bit before I start really, losing it in a sense and being irritated and all that. And,
no, it's true. It's part of life.
So my confessional.
Yes, my dear.
I was just actually sharing this with Sanka, is that my confessional is this week I've been depressed and I wallowed in it and I was okay with that.
Yeah.
Over what? Was it a change of weather or?
No, just a lot of things going on in my life in terms of like financial and then in terms of financial and relationship, especially financial doesn't go, it hits the relationship.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really hard. And it's a lot of looking at, why am I in this situation? And obviously taking responsibility, like, okay,
where you
this
also
doesn't just happen. I'm accountable that this, I created this. But it's that reality and, jobs and that kind of thing. And so, so I've been really I still got the kids ready to go to school, but I felt on autopilot because I need to for my family. But then once on my own, I'm just like, cutting off the world. I'm a zombie. Yeah. I'm hermiting myself. I'm just not
want to be
there.
left alone in a sense.
So today I had the realization, like, I can't do this. Like this cannot continue.
Yeah.
And I have to snap out of it for the better for myself, but mainly for my family.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, how do I not let myself wallow in pity, because I was starting to get there. And if I was, then it's going to become 2 weeks.
It's downhill in a
3
sense.
weeks.
Yeah.
You start to get comfortable in that hole. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
Raccoons are walking in your apartment and you're like, hey, raccoon, you want a pity with me?
Let's have a pity party.
So, and I could feel that. I could feel that pity vibe is starting to come, and I was like, no, I can't. So I just really had to say, okay, I know this is the situation I'm in, and what do I need to do? How do I take that energy and transform it into something else? And it's amazing too that as soon as I started thinking about that, I was just talking to someone related to financial, and it was nice to hear especially this person, to kind of give you like a boost, like you're good. Things are going to happen. I know things are hard, but like I hear you and I've been listening and you're there. You just have to keep pushing. And that person, I just first of all would never have thought it would come from her. Yeah, I mean, I don't know her. Like, we know each other, but we don't really know each other.
Yeah. And
the type of, I guess, relationship that we have, it could be awkward, but I would never expect that from her. And it has nothing to do with her personality. It's just the type of relationship that we have. And so, anyway, especially when you deal with people where you have to deal with money, sometimes it could be awkward, right?
Yeah.
So coming from her, it was just like, whoa, this is crazy. And she's telling me like, get this book, because I was just talking to her about what do you do in my situation where things are really hard?
Yeah.
I can that's where I'm at. That's where I feel in my life I'm being pulled. Do I give in and just do what I need to do, or do I or can I still go for my passion?
Yeah.
And to hear from her say like, go for your passion, like, you know, and I was like, and especially her, and I was like, what? But you know my situation. And she's like, get this book, because in this book that it's exactly what this book covers is like finding how do you do what you love and that you're passionate about and make a living out of it type of thing. So that's where I'm at. It's finding that I want to do the responsible thing because you have responsibility. I have responsibility and things are just not looking good, but also the passion aspect too. So that's where my mind kind of had to shifted from, okay, don't wallow anymore. Let's start thinking of this.
And sometimes you need a moment to wallow.
Yeah.
It takes a moment, but you gotta say, okay, so I'll give myself this amount of time. After that, I need to get my assets in gear.
Yes.
Because we got stuff to do.
It's true.
Exactly.
I wanted to share something with you guys, if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
This is actually called an autobiography in 5 chapters. I don't know if you ever heard of a woman called Portia Nelson. She's a regular little lady who used to sing in cabarets. In the 1970s, she got breast cancer. And at that time, it was essentially a death certificate. She survived. And she also survived throat cancer. And she survived tongue cancer.
Wow.
And in the early 90s, she succumbed to that. And then in 2001, she passed away. But everybody who knew her knew she was a really simple, yet incredibly profoundly wise lady. And so she wrote this poem as she was going through her difficulties. And I thought it was so pertinent to what we were talking about. So if you guys can bear with me. Chapter 1, I walk down the street. This is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way to get out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I fall in. It's a habit, but my eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5, I walk down a different street. On that note, I guess we can take a break.
Yes.
All right.
You're listening to The Cackle with your hostesses, Tanisha Collins, Sanka Khan, and Sherley Joseph, right here on CKVL 100.1 FM.
The milk is spilled, honey.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it.
Don't just stare at it.
Don't just stare at it.
Clean it up as best as
Clean
you
it
can.
up and move on. But you can't. I never look
I just
at
had
wallow
this vision
as
of the 2-year-old sitting at the table staring at us.
No, you know what? It's funny you're saying that, but kids do that.
I know.
Behavior. You know, when they spill something, they're like, oh. And you know what they're doing? They're processing. They're like, okay.
Do I tell mom?
Do I tell mom?
Do I just
not?
wipe it
Do I
and
just
not
wipe
tell
it?
her?
Can I just pretend?
And then after,
Pretend
what
it's not
happens
there.
after the reflection? The kid takes her tongue and starts licking up that milk, and you're like, wow, you really thought about that. Didn't you?
There were
Not
several
the best
options.
thought.
That was the best one.
That was the best one at the time.
It's
So
quick, efficient, little energy, and little tools.
exactly. So that's why, I just wanted to say, it's reflection. Wallowing is reflection. You're just acknowledging the situation you're in. You're looking at it for what it is and being realistic.
I'm trying. I mean, I'm not gonna
No one's perfect
fake the
there.
funk, but it was a scary moment for me. 'Cause
Well,
it
I was
really
that-
like
In that,
I think I'm about to I had really my brain went, do we just go in and hit the ground right now?
yeah.
And it's like,
But you
that's
know
what's
what?
concerning.
As the warrior I know you are, you would never allow yourself to stay that long.
No,
And you have too good of friends around you that will never allow you to sit there that long. And that's one thing, because I had to learn that throughout the years, and that's what I do, and I do it to myself. I don't know how I created that, how I acknowledged it, how it developed, but it was just a thing that I guess you don't want to be a victim no more.
Yes.
It's easy to be the victim and sit
That's
there and
exactly
say this,
what I was
that,
telling you
you
when we
know?
talked.
Exactly. I'm not that kind of person. I'm that warrior fighter where it's like, no, I'm going to take back control. I'm the driver in life. I'm sitting in the driver's seat. So it's all up to me. And nothing's going to move until I decide to get back in that car and head back and continue on my path.
That's right, because we can't stay here.
Yeah, there you go.
Staying here, staying there
Yeah.
is not an option.
It's not
We
an
can
option.
hang out a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can
can
acknowledge
reflect.
it, look around, girl, take in the scenery, sniff a bit.
Yeah.
But then after you need to get back in that car and start that car and continue. People will make mistakes, and the same advice we give to our kids, we have to understand that for ourselves, that mistakes are part of growing. And if you're not making mistakes, therefore you're not growing. And mistakes happen throughout all your life because we're learning the whole way. And no one's perfect.
Yeah. I don't know what the situation is exactly, but what you were describing, I was in that maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago because I started my business a year now, almost in May.
Oh my God.
And, you know, finances are like that when you're trying to get yourself known and things like that, right? And other things happen unexpected where other funds were cut that we thought we would be okay even if I don't make anything, you know?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I've been through enough stuff already that I'm gonna have my pity party for a bit.
Exactly.
And when I get tired of it, whatever happens, even if I lose, I don't know, my car or whatever, it'll happen. But I'm going to keep on pushing because there's no way I'm going back to my 30 hours plus taking care of my 3 kids plus everything else I got to do and not even be in a job that I love so much, you know?
it's
And
true.
especially because you're talking about passion, it gets better. It just, even if you lose a couple things along the way,
It gets better.
you know?
It's interesting because, like, that same person I was talking to, and
You need to read Celestine Prophecies.
Celestine's
Prophecy.
I heard
Do you
about
know
that. I
that
don't know.
book has never been advertised. It's only because I forgot his name, so somebody needs to look up his name. There's a few books, right? But the premise of this is that book was created. This guy had no money, but he was moved. Okay, he was moved to write this book. You know, you wake up like the day I decided it was time for me to move out of my house. I just woke up one day. I was like, "You need to tell your mother it's time."
and energy moves.
Yeah, it just
like,
I just
you're not even making the decision.
exactly.
It's like
You
quantum
just
physics,
my third eye chakra was on point.
Right.
so this book, he wrote the book, had no money. He wrote a few, I think 100 or so copies or so, and then all of a sudden, one person would read it, pass it on to another. That is how his whole book,
Wow.
the success of his book came from word of mouth.
Wow.
People felt moved, and what people would say, because they would write him and say, listen, by fluke, I just happened to talk to this person, and this person said they felt moved to tell me about this book, and so I got the book, and it changed my life, and then I gave it to someone else, or I gave it to a stranger. There's some weird, insanely amazing things that are happening with the.
There was just one copy?
Yeah.
He just had he had
His own.
exactly.
Okay.
He had enough to make a short run.
Yeah.
Nowhere by the scales of regular. Exactly. But then from that, people just kept eating up the book and passing it on to people they cared about. And so at the beginning of his book, it says, he's like, you will be moved to pass it on because, other people, blah, 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 blah. And he goes into it. And the premise of the book is that nothing happens for nothing. And that there are moments, when you're on the right track, because all of a sudden people will come out of nowhere. It could be a stranger. It could be the grumpy old man who's always, everything that comes out of his mouth is awful and mean and
And
grouchy.
nonsense,
And
yeah.
Exactly. But then all of a sudden, there's something pertinent that happens in your life, and all
One
of a sudden
word
he
of
comes with
wisdom
flowers
comes
and
out.
tells you, you need to do this.
It was a weird moment. And I
It-
was like,
But
So you need to keep going, because that comes from,
Yeah.
what he was saying is that comes from an energy that is bigger than us. So it doesn't matter what your religious beliefs or non-religious beliefs are, that there's no denial in the fact. It's like when they say you do meditation, you don't need to believe in it, because the work that's being done is going to get done anyway.
Exactly.
It's the same idea. If you're on the same track, someone out of nowhere will say something, will give something, will open up a door, will talk about a name of a company that you'll see passing through on a commercial, and then then you'll be like, oh, maybe they need, and then it'll just start this whole other pattern going. And they also said in the book that the way we treat each other is an exchange of energy.
True.
And so that we have to be careful with certain people that we talk up to who talk to us
to take
about and they take our energy, and you notice. And so he was saying, he's like, you will notice there are physical and mental and emotional reactions after this person leaves the room or leaves the premises, and you'll be like exhausted, and you'll be like, why? It's because they stole your energy. They stole your energy by dumping negativity onto your lap. And if you're a person who cares about this person or who feels a certain kind of connection with this person, you absorb it. And then it has an effect on how, and so you will continue on your way. And unless someone with a more positive energy finds a way to exchange with you, you will feel drained, and it will have effects on your life.
That is
so.
I went through that trying to help someone, and being there, I didn't realize, just being me, just caring and wanting to help them. By the time I left, I was so tired. You would think I was running track with, Ben Johnson. Okay, like I was running track on steroids, going.
They ran very far now.
Machu Picchu, and I ran to the top and back down, and carries. Like literally, I felt so drained, and I had to step back, and I actually did, because I didn't like that feeling of being, drained to that point.
Even though you were helping, and the reason why the person's not ready to receive that.
Yeah, and that's what I had to, and that was one thing I had to realize at that point. So that's why I had to step back and say, you know what? They're not ready to hear my message. They're not ready for me yet. I have to accept it for what it is, but also I have to save myself and my energy. When they're ready, it could always come back. But right now, it's not the time.
And the cool thing is, it also works in the positive sense.
Exactly.
So you'll find, it's funny, I saw someone yesterday, and it was just really interesting what they said. I had one of those moments. I went to an energy doctor person.
Reiki? Was it Reiki?
They do, it's a mixture. So they call it energy medicine. So they do Reiki, they do whatever it takes to get it fixed.
Okay.
Everything. The crystals, the whole big thing. I'd never done it before, but somebody told me I should try it. So before I talk to other people about it, I need to try it out and see how it feels like too. So I did it, and it was I was floored. Okay, these ladies floored me. You had to pick me up from under the table because I was so shocked, because they were so on point. And they were talking about energy and how that works, and they use the energy medicine to kind of give you a reboost, right? And also to tell you what's happening, because depending on what's going wrong, what's happening in your body, it reflects on what's happening in your life. So that's what they say. There's a school of thought that thinks that, not to bring it up again, but that cancer is caused as well, not only from environmental issues and concerns, effects, so forth, but also from unresolved emotional baggage. That it stays there. And it makes sense, right? Because even if you swallowed a bad bone or something like that, it stays in your body. It's going to start to affect everything else.
So true.
So what this type of, I guess, treatment does is try to get your energies in check and try to send you on the right direction using natural products, herbs, things like that.
Yeah.
So, and it was fascinating because they were saying the same thing. Your body will tell you when you've had enough.
It's so
true. It is.
Yeah. And if we listen to it, we can save ourselves from so much heartache and pain. And that really, if we're around positive people who are dishing out positive energy, and this is where my point is coming. Because truth be told, for a second, I forgot what I was talking about. You like that, eh? You didn't notice till I said it, right?
No. Nicely played.
That was very well done. Very well done.
Even
I think
in
we're
radio,
so
it's
observed by
perfect.
learning this new information.
I'm like, okay, so I can think. So she said, your aura, she told me I had a really, really big aura, right? And I said, yeah, my mother would probably agree. Take all the room. And then she said, but you have to, she said, you have a job. I'm like, oh? She's like, yeah. She's like, you have to stay happy. And I'm like, are you kidding me? She's like, you have to stay happy. She said, because of who you are, she said, you will walk in the room, and if you're not happy, everybody else in the room will feel it. She said, but as long as you, and she said, you, it's so funny. She's like, you are vitamin to people. I'm like, what? What was interesting from when she said that was because when I was a consultant and I was going from company to company, an employee had told me that. She had told me, she had come to me when I was finishing my mandate, and she said to me, she's like, you are like vitamin C in this organization, and we're going to miss you, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, shoot.
But I was like, but so she said that, and it kind of stayed, because you try to, when you come into an environment, you know that if it was a company that was in trouble for whatever reason, I knew that when I was coming in, I had to come in with a boost.
Well, that's the job, energy. Right? That's why you're called to do that. Exactly.
So because I knew that the organization and the employees in it at the time doesn't have it, or else I wouldn't be there, right? Yeah. So I come in with all this kind of mental boost. Positivity. And so when she said that, I was like, okay, I'm paying attention now.
So it's so true, because, being friends with you for many, many years now, I know that energy. It's like she can pick me up. Like, she can't fake it, that I feel it so much that the mother instinct in me just turns around and says, okay, spill it. Yeah. And I know right away. And it's like, I feel that energy. And then, she's a strong girl, and, she'll say, no, I got this. And I'm like, no, you don't.
She's like, you ain't got nothing.
You don't have nada. Do you feel this energy going on here? This is not pleasant, my friend. I know, it's spilling. Mommy got words.
And so she was telling me, she's like, part of your mission is that you have to bring positivity to people. She said, you can't do that if you're not happy. So you need to do everything. She said, you need to do everything it takes to make sure that you stay up. And I was like, Lord. Because everybody's got a fat day. Everybody's got a bad hair day. Hiking? Yeah. You'll feel good.
But I want to touch on something you talked about. I think that in terms of positivity and all that, there's so much of that message being thrown around, and it could be lost.
Yeah.
Could be lost because positivity without knowing what you're standing on and where you're going, where is that going to bring you? Yeah. So,
absolutely.
For you, you're talking about in terms of your passion and all that, and I don't know all the details, but if you know who you are, what your strengths are, your experience, and where you want to go, and you may not know all the details, how you're going to get there, how's it going to all work out in the end, but you have that solid, you're grounded in that way, then things will not affect you so much. Whether you get someone that is not getting at all where you're going, what your goals are, where you're trying to place yourself in terms of your career, your family and whatnot, it won't affect you so much. You'll have maybe those moments where we're all down or, we're just having a rough week or 2 weeks or a few weeks. It could happen, right? But you'll snap out of it. And I figured for me personally that 99% of it, it's in my mind. Yeah. It's my choice. Everything I do and I say is my choice. No one controls me. No one could take anything away from me unless I let it be like that.
Exactly.
So when you get into a venture where you have a new project or you're shifting careers or you went back to school, whatever it is, you have to make sure that that's for you. And then whoever comes along, whether they're rooting for you, they don't get it, and you're like, you're crazy, you can't do that now, you have your kids, you have this, you have that. It could affect you a bit on those hard days, but it won't stay.
They're not the boss of you.
It's a choice. It's a choice.
In your car.
You're listening to The Cackle with your hostesses, Tanisha Collins, Sanka Khan, and Sherley Joseph, right here on CKVL 100.1 FM. Tug of war that I go through, it's myself before and the self that I want to be. That's where I'm at.
Stop letting her hold you back, then.
It is, and it's like everything in my life is for someone like her. That was a huge thing for me because it was like, okay,
The universe is trying to tell you something.
Exactly. Especially if they picked her.
Falling on my lap. I'm seeing it. I can see. I don't have. There's not one person in my life right now who's giving me any type of like, you're crazy, you shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Everything and everyone, let alone her. So it's like it's bananas, and it's a scary thought to kind of. It's like there was a thing with Steve Harvey said where there's a point in your life that you have to jump.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have to jump.
You want my parachute?
Yes.
Well, because I'm like, go big or go home.
Exactly. And he's like, there's a point where you wanna be or do that thing that you're passionate about, and he's like, the worst is when you're at that cliff and everyone's just jumping, and you're still standing there at the edge of the cliff, like you're like, oh, I know I have to jump. But I'm just like, ugh.
It's the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
It's true. It really is.
What you have at the present, you could improve, you could maybe make it work better for you, whatever it is, your finances, improve situation for your family, your happiness with your passion, your career, da-da-da. Yeah. But because you don't know how it's going to be when you take that jump. Are you going to fall before you get to the other side? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, oh, maybe I should just hold on, even though I know I could make a few good changes, but it's okay if you fall. That's part of it.
Because you're falling out, staying in place.
If you listen to people that are passionate about their careers, whatever the field is, and they're having an honest conversation about how they got to point A to point Z, and they went through all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
No one just miraculously woke up the woman or man they wanted to be in their
scars. I got scars, man. I got scars.
Yeah, everyone has their scars, their gray hair, and why do we put that standard for ourselves, but for other people we're so understanding to say, yeah, it's okay, you're gonna make it through, it doesn't matter, okay, you can't pay your car next, don't worry, it's gonna work out. Yet we never do it for ourselves.
We don't fight to ourselves.
That was my moment last year where I said, no way, I am not doing this, I'm not giving this encouragement out to everybody else, and I'm not going to go after what I would like to do as well. When I have the proof that this is something that I could be very successful in and continue to encourage other people, but in another way, and you have those people. I had throughout, even before I made my decisions, and I'm doubting, should I take the leap? Should I start my own business? And just all these people that I don't know coming at me out of nowhere, talking words to me that only I know in my heart. Yeah. You understand?
That's a good way to put it.
True.
It's no one else knows that, and none of your
universe was a person. It'd be like, okay, how much
more do I have to tell you?
This is ridiculous.
Do I have to?
It says that on a regular basis,
and it's like that's what I felt today. Like that's why I just drove and just because it felt like that. Yeah. Like, okay, I have to stop fighting with this, and I have to just work with what I got. What can I do with what I have now, and don't dwell on what I'm missing or what's not there or things like that. Just work with what you got and go with it. Go with it. Do not your best at it. Just, I think I'm at a point where I'm like, I gotta jump.
Yeah,
cash with the cash.
I gotta jump.
Yeah, it's true. No, but it is true. And what you're doing, in essence, is taking back control of your life. Not, sitting there just like wallowing. Yeah. Because you have to be the driver. And one thing a lot of people do is that in life, as they're driving their car on their pathway, they're looking through the rearview mirror. Why? Because the road ahead of you is ahead of you.
For you to hear right
but
now.
You're still fixated on the past. At some point, you have to acknowledge what's holding you back. What is keeping you looking back in that rearview mirror? Because you can't change it no matter what.
Yeah.
You can only prepare and get ready for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you have to take that jump and not be afraid. And like you said, everyone who has been successful in whatever they've chosen to do, listen to their story of how many times they fell.
Yeah.
So you're not
up to even losing everything. Some people have, I know it's a scary thought, but some people have gone homeless, lost all kinds of stuff.
But they never gave up.
They didn't give up. And was when they look back, the sacrifice and the perseverance was all worth it.
They would do it again, right?
Now, but let me just preface this with: once you're at the successful part, I do it all over again.
It's so true.
Well, listen,
when you're in it, you're like
you're saying you just talked about not looking in the rear view. The only time I disagree with that to some point. I don't think you should have necessarily regrets, but I think the only time to look back is if you could just want to assess maybe what you could do better if you find yourself in that situation again, or what you could improve.
You're debriefing.
You know,
exactly.
A
lot of people don't do that. They actually just get fixated, and it's like their eyes are just locked in the past.
And that's when you get into depression and all kinds of mental traps as well.
Snap out of it. That's why I always say take back control. You have to remember, you're the driver. You're controlling that car. You know, it's one thing to reflect and acknowledge your pathway and see what you can change. And it's another thing when you're so fixated that you can't move forward and not realize that your car is not moving forward. So you're not getting any closer to your goals or dreams. You're actually hurting yourself because you're just in a standstill, you know, and I'm guilty of it, you know, and there was a part of my life where I had to acknowledge what I was looking at and say, you know what, I'm done. I need to handle
move
this
on,
so I can move on and keep my car going. And the day I did that, the release that happened, man, it was like my car was a Ferrari. I don't have one now.
It's almost like an earth shift.
It's an earth shift. That's what it is. And it felt like my car just took off at a lightning speed.
Yeah.
And the confidence was there. You believe in yourself. And you also start to be aware that, you know what, you're going to make mistakes and you have to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And this is part of growing in the life process, you know?
Yeah.
And you know what? There's a quote by Hunter S. Thompson.
Now I know Sanka's the quote lady.
Do you have that quote?
It says, life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn up, and loudly proclaiming, wow, what a ride. Exactly. You can't do that in your basement wallowing in guilt.
Yeah,
it's depression.
Yeah. It's true.
Nobody got time.
Go big or go home.
Exactly. But do you remember growing up, your parents would say something along the lines, life is not cookies and cream, honey. You know, there was a reason why they said it, you know, and everybody has their journey. And there's certain people strategically placed in your life to give you that message to kind of shake you out of it if you're reflecting a little too long.
Yeah.
And I think that message was delivered for you, Sherley, by the right person, because anybody else to give that message, you wouldn't have heard it.
No,
That's
you're right.
so
Yeah,
true.
perhaps someone that was closer to you, you would have been like, okay, whatever. They're just trying to encourage
They
me.
They probably already told her. She didn't hear nothing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
It definitely shook me to the, you know, like the fact that I broke down like that, you know, like it was just not, it was uncalled for, and I just didn't expect it, especially the person that I'm talking about. Just, I would not expect that, you know, not because of that person's personality, just like I said, the
dynamics,
the dynamic, the type of really is just what, you know, like it was really what is going on?
Well, that's what it took.
We need to break it down for you.
Yeah. No, it was really like that's it, Shirley, you gotta stop.
Yeah.
You gotta use your resources and who you are and just go for it.
You
It doesn't mean
of it.
you may get to another moment again, but you're gonna be able to look back at what happened in the last week and say, oh no, okay, I'm recognize it now.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know
you'll
it
be
might
able
not be all roses. Like, there might be something else, another wall.
It won't be roses,
right?
But it won't
I
all be bad
promise
stuff
you
either.
there'll be so many other obstacles. It's a promise. Think the worst and try your best.
There you go.
And if you can plan for it, try.
You know, I love plans. I love to organize. I love all of that stuff so much, you know. Then, when I had my first child and I could not leave the house without making sure the dishes were clean, I'm like, this is crazy. I have to let go. So now, what do I tell even my clients? I tell them, have your plan and be able to throw it out in the garbage, in the ditch, whatever you want, because that's life. And you adjust and you learn. And it may even end up being better than whatever you thought it would be.
Good foundation, pliable walls.
And
you can move them around as needed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to look back. You're not wallowing. We have to know the difference. That's what I was trying to tell you. You're allowed to look back because all those mistakes, all those great successes you have and have had have developed you to who you are. And you wouldn't be in the place that you're in without them.
True.
So sometimes, like every disappointment is not a failure. And we have to acknowledge that. Sometimes stop beating ourselves up. Understand it made you who you are. It has made you stronger. And you wouldn't be standing where you are ready to move forward without those steps.
We don't fail.
Yeah.
We're just learning.
Exactly.
And that's where it begins and that's where it ends. And it's so funny because there's a woman who actually wrote a book, and I'm trying to remember it, and I can't. Sorry. But in her presentations, she says she realized a lot watching her toddler. Right?
Oh my God! Yes.
And her toddler was trying to learn how to walk. And so she would watch the baby get up, fall, get up, fall. Try to take a step, fall, get up, fall. Not once did the baby say, I quit.
Not once.
I'm just gonna crawl.
But they'll sit there and cry a bit and be annoyed with themselves, but they'll get back up.
Every single time. There's no if, ands, or but. They're going to walk. It's just a matter of when. And they will keep at it. And she said, when I saw my baby do that, I said, we are idiots.
It's true. We should look at kids.
Yeah.
They're so much smarter than we are.
But I want to add something because that just made me think of my daughter. My firstborn, she's going to be 10 soon this summer. And the way before she stood up and started walking, she would crawl backwards all the time, never forward. Crawl backwards like a truck, beep beep, and looking backward for like maybe 6 weeks before she stood up and started walking forward. And I said, now that you say that little story, I'm like, that's kind of me. I need to like make all the mistakes and then learn from it. That's my character. I'm always acting. I need to go out there and try it. Even if you tell me, you warn me, I have to see it for myself and do it, right? So, but I got up again, and my daughter eventually learned how to walk straight. So regardless, and then she couldn't stop running and bumping and all that, but eventually you just get there. Somehow or another you get there, and it's the perseverance and that resilience that builds over time with practice, with learning. And I said to myself, the day I know I'm dead, as not physically only, but in terms of my person, is the day I say, oh, I learned everything. If you keep that mentality that I'm maybe pretty good and pretty fly at what I'm doing, but I'm not done learning, and encourage yourself in everything you've been through and keep on being open to that learning and improving and just sharing with other people. You can't go wrong. No. You can't go wrong.
No. And it's funny you say that because that's one of the big things that I always say. I'm never done.
No,
I'm always looking at what's new. As soon as you get comfortable, that's when you start falling, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always looking to see, okay, what else can I figure out? What else can I learn? What are other people doing? Not to copy, but to get inspired from. Yeah.
And to see if it's for you.
Exactly. And then I try it out and I'm like, not so much. Or I'll try it out and I'm like, all right. And I'll put it into the arsenal of skills and knowledge and so forth, forgetting where I got the information from. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
But you'll also learn from the people that come after you.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I learned from the juniors that I've worked with.
Yeah.
Where they'll come to me and I'm like, I can't believe I've been doing this for X amount of years and I did not think of that.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so when you're open, and it's funny because I always tell my clients and the people I've worked with this, and I always tell them, always walk through life with an air of exploration.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, the confessional. Again, don't be shy. We'd love to know your confession. What have you been going through? What has been your awakened moment or lessons that you've learned for the past week or two? Hit us up by email. That's info at the-kakle.com, info at the-kakle, that's THEKAKLE.com. We'd love to hear from you, and best one will be obviously shared on the show. You could write to us anonymously. We don't mind at all, as long as you shake it off, let it off your chest, okay? And tune in every Tuesday, The Cackle. We have part 2. Yep, the conversation is not over with Yasmina. It's wonderful. You'll get to learn more about who she is, where she comes from. So again, tune in next week, Tuesday, right here on CKVL 100.1 FM, and we'll get to talk further with leadership and organizational development coach, motivational speaker, and facilitator, Yasmina Jimenez. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for some more great content. Oh, and I figured a little quote before I say goodbye, kind of encompassing this whole confessional so far. One of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood. That's by Lucius Aeneas Seneca. Thanks so much for listening. Talk to you next week.